Why did I leave everything in the city to move to the countryside? I wrote down the main reasons to share so you can decide for yourself. There are a lot of people who keep wondering, should I move to the countryside or not? I'm going to tell you the pros and cons of living in a place like this with an amazing view, much better than anything you'll have in the city. First thing man, the cost of living. If you live in the city, whether you like it or not, you're going to spend a lot more. Rent is extremely more expensive, and depending on where you live, rent is just absurd. Even if you own a house, condo fees can be higher than rent. There are still many ongoing costs, so it's not just about owning property. Sometimes when you're close to the supermarket, you end up going there more often, you end up eating out more, you end up spending more on paid entertainment, and because of that, the cost of living gets much higher. After I moved to the countryside, my cost of living dropped by almost half. I built my own house, so I don't pay rent anymore. Electricity is about half the price of what it is in the city. We don't have to pay for public lighting. So, anyway, the cost of living, man, it's impressive how much cheaper it is. In the countryside, if you need milk, it's usually for breakfast in the morning. At least that's my habit. So here's what you do. You have to buy milk at the store, but in the countryside, I can get it directly from the guy with the cow. This way, I buy healthier milk without chemicals, and it's cheaper than store-bought milk. And like that, you can do a lot of things. You can buy rapadura straight from the guy. You can find someone who makes savory snacks. There are many producers in the countryside where you can buy directly from them. You have everything here. Vegetables, fruit. The amount of fruit in the countryside is impressive. Second, safety. Living in the countryside is great, but not everywhere is safe. So here's the thing. There are a lot of places that attract people from the city. For example, a guy who died. The children will divide the land and then they make a subdivision in the countryside to try to sell it and get some inheritance money. And then they make a subdivision. They call everyone and everyone actually shows up. People who want nothing to do with anything arrive, attracting bad elements, thieves, and all sorts of others. The area is even more dangerous than the city since there's no police, so be very careful. Safety in the countryside is very good if you choose the right place, because there are a lot of bad places out there since security is lower. But on average, living in the countryside is much safer. Work. What is it like to work in the countryside? Here, there are many more job opportunities. If someone wants to work, they won't be unemployed. It's true. Those with more opportunities can earn more than in the city. Of course, there are exceptions with jobs that pay better, but even if you have no education at all, you can go to the countryside and easily make 4,000 Rs a month working there. So you work for one person, work for another, you start doing specialized jobs, but it's heavy and difficult work. So there's a second option, which was my case. Here, I came to the countryside, not to work entirely in the fields, although we do work a lot here. I have my own plot of land, my plantation, which I take care of. So I work a lot, but I don't keep working for one person and then another in exchange for a day's work or for money and so on. No, not that. I work for others to be able to support myself. That's where today's revolution comes in. You can work online after the pandemic. There was a lot of that. A lot of people got online job opportunities because they saw that it works. Today, Starlink offers fast internet anywhere, so you buy it, though initial costs are a bit higher. You'll have quality internet for online work, allowing me to live and work in the countryside. Before, we barely had internet, but now I can work and share content online easily, even in the countryside. That limitation is gone. Previously, people believed you had to move to the city for opportunities due to poor communication and unreliable internet. Now anyone can work from anywhere. You'll still be limited to physical jobs. For example, if you want to work in an industry, there's a college inside with engineers and so on. You must live in a rural area near this industry, which is a limitation. However, if your job is online, you have no such limits. And you still get to have this view, this quality of life. This is what impresses me the most. When I lived in the city, I felt really trapped. Every time I had to go somewhere, I had to go through a lot of people. And then you end up feeling limited. In that physical space, you end up breathing a lot of carbon monoxide, in other words, the polluted air of the city. You end up making fewer friends, as strange as it may seem. There are more people around, but we make fewer friends in the city. In the countryside, we have a radius of about 10 kilometers where we know almost everyone in town. I lived in a house for 10 years and I don't even know my neighbor. The level of antisocial behavior in the cities is really high, so when I moved to the countryside, my quality of life improved a lot. I used to live in the countryside before it was here too, and then I had to go to the city to study. I spent 10 years studying there, always thinking I need to finish fast so I can leave and return to the countryside, which is so much better. I had lived in the countryside before and wanted to leave. It felt closed off and confined. I wanted to make a garden, but there was no way. I wanted to, I don't know, raise something around there. There's no way because there's no space. You only have your apartment and everything has to be done inside. That's really bad. You have a neighbor upstairs, a neighbor downstairs. If you make noise here, the other one hears it. If the other one makes noise there, you hear it. I don't want that for my life. Never again. And getting into this topic of space that opens up opportunities, even if you don't have a piece of land, but just the fact that you go to the countryside, you're going to buy a lot. And the lot is going to be huge, man. They sell huge plots. It's not that tiny little thing, you know? Living in the countryside gives you more space, which lets you create other income sources, for example. When I moved to the countryside, I bought a concrete mixer in the city. It was impossible for me to have a concrete mixer there. I had nowhere to store it. There was just no way. But in the countryside, you can put it anywhere. With the extra space, I could get a concrete mixer to rent out for extra income. I can have a space there with some seedlings to sell. I can have some extra space there to raise a chicken or have a vegetable garden, you know? You get a lot more space to create new things, to keep your mind busy with multiple activities, and also to generate more income. So this extra space makes all the difference. When I had to go to the city, if you wanted to study properly, you had to go to the city. There was no other way. Studying online, nowadays it's different. People want to study online. He can attend a prestigious college, earn a valuable diploma to help him get a job, and study online for less. Notice that detail. If I were to start studying nowadays, I would never want to move to the city just to stay there, struggling, dealing with the high cost of living without a job just to go to college. And today I'm not even working in the field. I've never worked in the field, just so you know. I've been graduated for a few years now and I've never worked in the field. I tried like crazy to get a job and I couldn't. Remember, I'm an engineer, so that's the level of difficulty. It's much easier to pursue a specific field unless it's something like medicine or dentistry that you have to do in person. But most pedagogy courses for teaching, specialized courses within companies and so on, there's a lot. Information technology, you can do everything online with really good quality. There's no reason to go to the city because of that. Now, raising children. I've been following the X family for a long time. You must have seen some of their videos, Joao and Daya, and they show very clearly how their children's quality of life is much better. When you're in the countryside, I used to follow them early on when they posted daily videos. It's impressive. They already have 4 kids and care for them right there in the countryside. They get the kids to work, to do things, to get their hands in the dirt and not spend all their time on their phones. I've already got a baby on the way who will be here in a few months. I can't imagine raising a kid like that in an apartment. He'd just spend all day on his phone messing around. So what would he even do? They get their brain addicted to instant dopamine, to get that dopamine hit, that happiness right there. They just move their finger like this. But for a kid playing outside, getting that dopamine means digging a ditch, making a road for a toy car, and driving it over. They need to build a tree house and tend a garden. It's different, man. You develop your mind, they need to think, they need to do something to get the reward and not just swipe their finger. Do you think that's why there are so many kids these days who don't develop their minds as much? I'm not an expert in the field, but that's really clear to me after I got into it. These screens with kids just on screens all day long, that really ruined children. So that was my intention. I was already married when I was studying. But I said, look, let's have a child when we're living in the countryside because you can't raise a kid in an apartment. And then the kid gets stressed, gets angry, doesn't develop his mindset. A child might have great mental potential and be very smart, but it's easier to just keep scrolling and watching short videos. In the countryside, that's possible. But in an apartment, what do? Stop the kid from using the phone. What will he do all day? There's nothing to do. In the countryside though, you can assign the kid tasks like cleaning the yard or tending the garden. It's not slave labor, it's about development. That's how I was raised. And it's thanks to that nowadays I'm able to solve everyday problems, that I can think more clearly, make the right decisions. I was raised this way as a kid, so I think the countryside is the best place for children. Now there are schools everywhere, so you can live in the countryside anywhere. Studying isn't an issue for the kid, but rural children's quality of life is much higher. It's on another level. We're focusing on the benefits now, though there are downsides as well. There's a detail here about time optimization. Look at the problem in the city. In most big cities, you waste time in traffic. So the guy has to go to work. He spends an hour and a half to get there, an hour and a half to get back. That's 3 hours of his day lost in traffic. And there are even worse situations where the guy has to leave 5, 4 in the morning to catch a train, catch a bus, pay for a bunch of things just to get to work, hoping nothing goes wrong along the way. He works all day, comes home late, loses his whole day to work, and still gets paid poorly. In the countryside, you're much closer to work. I have to come here. Look, just so you have an idea, I water the coffee here, right? So I come here to water the coffee. Each section takes 20 minutes to water, 20 minutes. In the city, anything you do in 20 minutes just means waiting. Here, I open the section, go home, have breakfast, study, and do what I want. I can do several things in 20 minutes, return here, and still close the section since my work is nearby, you know? The company where I record these videos, the short videos and such that I also record for other profiles, is right next to my house. So I leave home, go into the studio, prepare the videos, record the videos, and walk back home with no traffic, no stress, none of that. So you save a lot of time, man. Everyone has the same 24 hours, but if you spend yours on a bus, on the subway, you're wasting your time. When you're in the countryside, you can manage your life so you walk a lot less. Of course, depending on what you're going to do in the countryside, like I'm going to live in the countryside, but I'm going to be a plasterer. You'll need to walk further to serve clients as a plasterer, do some burning, or work as a bricklayer. You'll walk more, but at least there won't be traffic. Even if you walk 20 kilometers, you'll finish faster than someone walking 5. It's all about optimizing time. You can get a lot more done living in the countryside, your time is used much better, and then you stop wasting your time on things that are bad for you, you know? I used to have this habit when I was in the city. I spent a lot of time, got home tired, had to have dinner. What are you gonna do? It's easy. You just open your phone, order some fast food, and that's what happened. I ate fast food a bunch of times a week. That made me gain a lot of weight. It reduced my physical endurance. It was bad, man. For us, we were spending a lot more. We were losing our health. And after I came to the countryside, in a short time, I had already lost several kilos and I didn't even go on a diet. It's just because I stopped eating those darn snacks. So when you're in the countryside, it's totally different. You're going to eat healthier, you're going to eat cheaper things, and still you'll have a better quality of life. I hope not everyone catches on, because if everyone moves to the countryside, there won't be enough space and it'll become chaotic. If you're smart, you know it's better to come here. Now let's discuss the cons. I've noticed a few. I've been living here since I came from the city. It's been about a year and a few months, so I was able to get a pretty good idea of what the cons are. There aren't many things, but the first thing is you waste a lot of time shopping. You gain a lot of time, but when it comes to shopping, you lose time. Why? Because it's far from the city. So I need to take at least half a day, depending on where you're going to live. You lose the whole day just to go to the city every week to get something you need. Maybe I need a pipe or even just food, the food we're going to eat, so you don't have a little market nearby. Without a bakery nearby, you must plan to buy flour and make bread yourself or coordinate with someone who bakes so you can buy from them along with milk. Everything requires organization. You can't just remember you need something and pick it up quickly. You need to organize based on your distance from the city and plan for the entire month since you can't go there frequently. For example, if someone works online and moves to the countryside but must be at his online job every day from 7 to 5 without a break, how is he going to shop in the city? Because during all the hours when the market is open, when the city is open, he's working. He can't go there, so he needs to have that flexibility. Or for example, he needs to have a wife who can go there or someone who can do it for him. Because you won't be able to just quickly go there and do your things. You have to set aside a good amount of time to go there and buy what you need. So you need to organize this very well. If you plan to live in the countryside, you have to keep in mind that at least half a day you'll spend just to go to the city. And it's not exactly a waste. It's actually a nice thing. Because you don't visit often, when you do, you shop, eat ice cream, and spend time with your family. Going downtown is an outing, but living in the city makes going out just a chore, not an outing. So it's a benefit, but you lose some time. I lose half a day of work going to the city. I make up for it on Sunday, for example, so I work a little on Sunday to make up for that time. That way I don't fall behind and I don't work less than I should. Next detail. The city that's close to your farm might be a very small city. Since it's a small city, you'll have fewer options, so you'll have fewer food choices, and maybe the market will be a little more expensive. You won't have a movie theater, bowling alley, or mall. Farms may be nearby, but they're pricier closer to big cities. People moving to the countryside often have a small town nearby, but the bigger city is farther away, so you won't have the same options. You might find fewer snack bars of varying quality and no big brands, so you'll have to accept that. Not being able to eat at McDonald's is actually a blessing, right? Except that there will be fewer options, but usually you have everything you need. It's just sometimes a bit lower quality. And the third thing that nobody mentions, here is the issue with the mail. Nowadays, most people buy things online, so you have to buy things online. How do you do it? You need an address to receive items, but deliveries don't reach the countryside, so you can't get anything here. You have to rely on people you know in the city to have packages delivered there and pick them up. That's not a good thing. So what do? I went to a shipping company, a place that receives things from the shipping company, you know. How much do you charge to deliver my things here? He gave me a price, and for everything I buy online, I pay shipping plus a small fee so he can receive it for me, and then I pick it up from him. You can get this free from friends, but it's such a hassle. If I lived in the city and someone used my address like that, I wouldn't like it. I already get lots of packages for recording videos, sometimes 10 or 15 a week. Having them go to other people's houses is a real problem. It's okay if you don't shop online much. But if you have the habit of shopping online and it's cheaper and really worth it to buy a lot of things online, you're going to want to do what I mentioned, but it won't work at the post office because the post office has a post office box that you can pay for yearly. It's really expensive. And on top of that, it only accepts deliveries from the post office. And nowadays, most stores don't ship through the post office. They use couriers, so the post office box from the post office won't work. You'll have to get an address and pay for a receiver from Mercado Libre or another store that receives packages so the person can receive your orders. So add everything up and do the math. I checked and saw there's no way, man. Living in the countryside is a whole different level. You see this view here, man? You're just relaxing here. And just a while ago, the sun set behind the camera. Man, this is priceless. The weather's wild, but there are mosquitoes just like in the city. What do you guys think? I have to go. The mosquitoes are eating me alive. If you want more videos like this, suggest topics and comment below. What else should we do? I enjoy making these videos and chatting with you. See you next time.